don't need the noise, I don't need the race. God gave me vision, I'm keeping my pace. No comparisons, no chasing fame. I'm walking steady, yeah, I'm in my lane. In my lane, I'm aligned, I'm free. No traffic when you walk in destiny. Grace and purpose, peace remains. I'm living bold in Amber's lane.
Hey you guys, welcome back to In Amber's Lane. It's your host, Amber Lane, and we are back with season 2. So y'all know when it comes to the podcast and recording all the things that I am always literally going through whatever we talk about in real time. And so here we are again in real time talking about things. Okay. For season 2, we are talking about transitions. Now we're going to get very involved this season talking about transitions because I gave you a little glimpse in season 1 about how vulnerable I'm going to be. And we are just gonna dig a little bit deeper. And so currently I feel like I'm going through the liminal phase where I'm kind of like in that in-between phase, knowing what I should be doing but not really wanting to be uncomfortable in these moments, as well as just like in that phase where I'm like, okay, God, like what is the next step? And then he giving instruction, I'm like, oh, you sure you want me to do that right there? Like you sure that's for me to do? Like you sure you don't have another assignment in your book that you can give out for grading? Like you don't want me to do nothing else? And so it's just very uncomfortable. But again, it's like that in-between phase where you're just kind of trying to figure things out and just make sure that you are really following his instruction. So the definition of transition is a process, a period, or instance of changing from one state, stage, subject, or place to another. And so this season, I really want to talk about what transitions look like and how to deal with them in real time. And of course, including biblical references, because at the end all be all, we really need to go back to the Bible to really know how to navigate these transitions. Because a lot of times we'll just do things in our own manner or do things in our own way and won't even think about like, okay, is this how God really wants me to transition? Or am I even supposed to be transitioning right now, period? Or do I really have a guide, or do I really have a blueprint of how I should be transitioning? And so a couple of things that I want to talk about is how to transition from a former relationship to a new one without bringing old baggage. Because, and I'm not just talking an intimate relationship, I'm talking about relationship just period. I think a lot of times that we will leave one relationship and not really heal to deal with something else or someone else instead of really like taking that time and leaving that old baggage where it is. So that's one thing. Another thing I want to talk about transitioning is churches. I don't think we really talk about that. We really don't talk about that. There's really no guideline. But again, I definitely want to pull out some biblical references. I'm definitely going to have some spiritual guidance, some spiritual counselors that would be on the episode to make sure that I'm giving you the real deal. But I think that's something that needs to be talked about. Again, we really don't talk about that. That's like a hidden conversation that we don't have. And them conversations like that we don't have, they end up just kind of festering or becoming something bigger than what it really should be. So here on In Amber's Lane, we're going to attack that thing, okay? Something else, transitioning from undisciplined to discipline. I don't really think we talk about how serious that is or how if you have a stronghold in being undisciplined, like knowing how to break that habit, knowing how to break those habits and being disciplined, like that's something that needs to be talked about. Friendship breakups. We don't talk about those. Like a friendship breakup is just the same as having a breakup with a man or a woman. Like that stuff really hurts. Like church hurts for real, but a friendship breakup, like that thing will hurt you, especially depending on like how rooted that relationship was or how rooted that friendship was. And especially like depending on how long you had that friendship, like that can be a thing. And that's something we don't really talk about, how to navigate those things. Talking about how to go being in prosperity and then going back into that wilderness period. So we talk about how to get from the wilderness or how to get from lack to prosperity. But in this season, I want to talk about, okay, what it looks like from us being at the top of the mountain and then God being like, okay, let me test you back in this area. Because I felt like last year, okay, Lord, I learned surrender. Okay, Lord, I learned how to be obedient. I learned how to do all these things. And at the beginning of 2026, God was like, okay, you feel like you learned it? Okay, let me give you a test on it. And I'm like, wait a minute. I thought I learned. I thought the homework was good. I thought the papers was fine. Like, I thought I aced the class. And he like, yeah, no. But it's time to actually give you a test in those areas. So I definitely want to talk about those things, especially when you are in a situation where you go from, okay, God, I learned the lesson, and then he like, okay, let me test you in this area again. Depending on what your friend group looks like, or depending on what stage they are in, we don't really talk about what jealousy looks like in the friend group. Like, we don't talk about the envy, like, even if it's like unintentional, but the seeds that are constantly being planted, like by yourself or by other people, it will have you looking at your friend group kind of crazy, like, wait, Lord, but I've been seeing her waiting on this too. So why she getting out? And I'm telling you, the person I got coming on that episode, he gonna verify. He gonna be like, yeah, that was you. You did say that, because my brother really was having to check me. But you need somebody in your corner. It goes back to what we talked about last season about having somebody that will hold you accountable. Like, my brother held me accountable, was like, Amber, like, you really tripping for real. Like, you need to relax. This is not the season God has you in. But that's something that we're gonna talk about this season. Something else, identities from who you thought you were to who God is calling you to be. Because I feel like within the past couple years, I figured out who Amber was. You know, we'll talk about that. I was about to spill out a little bit too much. But coming out of a situation, I feel like, okay, Amber, you have finally rebranded yourself. You have figured out who you really are. And then now it's like, last year, God gave me a little whisper of what he wanted me to do. And I said, okay, Lord, okay, we can say yes to that. And then this year, the outpouring of, okay, you're going to do X, Y, Z. And I said, wait a minute. Now, this is not what we talked about last year. This was, I wish you would have gave me the whole plan. But God is never going to give you the whole plan, because you'll be just like me saying, I think not. But that's something that I definitely want to talk about, because the shift of identity of who you feel like you're supposed to be compared to who God is actually calling you to be, it could be two separate people. And you have to know how to transition from who you thought to who you are, or who you are going to be. Something else is coming from a job to a full-time entrepreneur. I feel like we look on this Instagram and this social media and we just see pop-up people, when in reality, these people have been really grinding and working for 10 plus years, but we never really go back in their story and say, oh, I remember when they were doing X, Y, and Z. Like, I remember when me and Ray was pushing shopping carts to drop off packages. I remember when I bought my first bag off Instagram. I remember those days. But you have people that just remember the first sellout on Instagram when it was like, wait, but we the OG girly pops, you know what I'm saying? So looking at somebody like that, going from doing all the things that she did to now looking at her with $100 million business, like, this is something that us OG girlies are proud of. But let's talk about what it looks like to transition from a job to a full-time entrepreneurship. What that looks like in your finances. Okay, yes, you're looking at something stable that's coming in every 2 weeks, but if that's not where God is calling you to be, or that's where you're not feeling like your purpose is, okay, what does that transition look like from going from a job, having to clock in 8 to 5:30, getting minimum wage or whatever the case may be, to you having to run your own business and be accountable? Because if your business is not legit, then what's the point of you having a business? If you're doing it the legit way, you definitely need to know how to transition. Something else, transitioning from debt to being disciplined. It sounds good when we tell you to put $5 away, or make a small amount, or make these adjustments. But in real life, sometimes it's really hard when you're only getting paid a certain amount of money. So what does that look like? What type of advisor can you speak to, or what type of plan can you start setting in place? Or if you are a full-time entrepreneur, what that looks like, creating an IRA or creating a plan that you're going to have for a retirement fund once you decide, hey, I'm done providing services, or I'm done selling product, or I want to sell my business. What does it look like for you to be able to retire? So all of season 2 is really just going to be talking about transitions. And each episode, of course, is going to dive into a different topic so that we're really able to get the most out of what I really want to come across. But like, these are real life transitions that I'm really like in real life going through. So y'all are about to see, like, in real life, IRL, in real life, what these things look like, because transitions are never easy. They are really testing ground. They are really, I don't really want to call them like wilderness seasons, because I think people give wilderness, they don't give the wilderness enough credit. I feel like a lot of people don't really acknowledge what the wilderness is supposed to do. The wilderness is really the in-between period from one place to the other. But a lot of times, like, as Christians, we be like, oh, the wilderness is a down season. No. Like, in your wilderness, you're supposed to learn something. And if you don't learn what you're supposed to learn, then like, what is the purpose of going into the wilderness? Like, when Jesus went to the wilderness, he was tested. The test didn't last forever, but he had to go through, and this is after he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights with nothing. And then the devil says, oh yeah, if you can do this and make this into bread. And God is like, yeah, no, just kidding. No, I'm not doing that. Like, so I think that we have to kind of reframe what the wilderness looks like. We have to reframe what testing periods look like. I thought about recently, like, you know, when you take a test, your teacher is not talking to you while you're taking the test. Your teacher gives instruction first. They tell you all the details. They tell you how you're going to be graded. They tell you what the expectation is. Hey, I don't want you talking, whoop, whoop, whoop. And then they're quiet. So, like, just because you may feel like God is quiet in the season, it could just be a testing period. Because for a very long time in 2026, I felt like he was definitely, like, on the hush mode. Like, you tell me to do something and you get quiet, like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do next. But he's like, I already gave you so much instruction. You shouldn't be asking me for anything else to do. And I'm like, ooh, you got it. You're right. Let's go on back to the drawing board and just do everything you told me to do to begin with. And honestly, clarity comes with movement. A lot of times we feel like clarity comes, you sit down, you pray, you cry, you ask for it, and God just magically gives you clarity. No. Sometimes clarity comes with, what did I already tell you to do? Clarity comes with obedience. What did I already tell you to do? Have you done what I told you to do? Have you crossed off the things in your to-do list? I felt like in one particular season earlier this year, I told my brother Delon, I was like, I just feel like I'm stuck in the house. Like, everybody, like, the Lord didn't let me come inside. And because I felt like last year I was just getting rained on. In the middle of the street, people was driving past me, water just putting on me, and I was supposed to stay right there. Now you didn't let me come in this house to get dried off, but I feel like dang, all my friends, all my sisters, my brothers outside get to play, and I'm the one stuck in the house. When in reality, God is just like, one, I want to spend more time with you. Like, you have to think about, like, when you were grown, well, I didn't have no siblings in my house, but I remember, like, being at my friend's house, and if my friend didn't do what she was supposed to do, we can go outside, but they had to stay in the house and clean up or do whatever their mama told them to do. It's the same thing with God with us. Like, if you're not going to do what he told you to do, instead, like, while your friends outside get to play and your siblings get to go outside and play and do whatever they want to do because they done their chores, like, no, you got to stay in this house and do your chores. And honestly, in that time where you're doing your chores, you get to spend more time with your parent because now you get to learn the reason, okay, this is why I have to let you in the house. But now I get to actually spend time with you and be like, hey, I remember when, your mama gets telling you stories. I remember when my mom told me to do X, Y, Z. So now you get to learn your parent just a little bit more. So that's what I feel like that season was for. But let's just stop thinking like the wilderness season is really like just a bad thing when it's really just transition. So in this season 2, we get in it. We really gonna talk about it. It may not, the people may not be happy, but let's just have honest conversation. Y'all know I've always been about honest conversation. So I can't wait to talk to you in the next episode because we are getting into the nitty gritty, baby. Okay, I love you all so much. Thank you.
I don't need the rain.
The love and the grace and the support that was shown.
God gave me vision. I'm keeping my pace. No comparisons, no chasing fame. I'm walking steady. I'm in my lane. In my lane, I'm aligned. I'm free. No traffic when you walk in destiny. Grace and purpose, peace remains. I'm living bold.